Thank you. Senator Ludlam, please.
Thanks, Mr. Scott. Look, I'm going to take you back to where you began. I think in response to some remarks that you made on questioning from my colleague, Senator Ruxton.
Yeah.
I was watching and listening fairly attentively from my office downstairs and appreciate the candour of your comments regarding the story that the ABC and The Guardian broke yesterday.
Yeah.
I think that was extremely well put. I'm just interested in the process of redaction. I noticed that the slide set that you published, I think 6 or so slides, has been redacted. Have you done that in collaboration with The Guardian, or is that something separate?
Yeah, I think there were discussions with The Guardian, but there were also discussions with appropriate authorities who, I mean, as is usual the case with the story, we went to appropriate figures. I won't go into detail on that, saying that we were aware of these matters, that we had seen these documents, and this was the shape of the story that we might be running. And there was some consultation around that. And I think in light of representations that were made, a decision was made to withdraw some elements on those slides. I won't go into the detail of that information, but that was a decision that we came to. And that's not an atypical process, I wouldn't have thought. Not an atypical process.
Were you at that point, though, coordinating with the editors of The Guardian here?
I believe, Senator, I was aware this story was coming together, and I was finally briefed on its shape before it went to air. But I believe that there were, even though when the ABC was aware of this material, the ABC reporting staff made its own calls, made its own inquiries, and filmed our own stories independently from The Guardian. There were points where there was discussion with The Guardian, including around the time when the story would be published.
Well, presumably in what form the source material would be published?
Pardon?
In what form the primary source material would be published?
And I think there was an agreement around what material would be redacted and the reasons for that.
And can we assume that some of those redactions are a direct response to what your process of checking with various authorities?
Yes, you can.
You can, okay. Publishers, including The Guardian, the New York Times and others in the United States, rest on First Amendment protections when they put this material to air or online. But in the UK, you're no doubt aware, the offices of The Guardian have been not quite raided, but the editor has been told, time's up, you've had your fun. The Guardian has been forced to drill out and destroy hard drives containing the source material.
Yes.
And effectively told to stop publishing, and to their credit, they haven't. What's the legal situation here in Australia? On what constitutional protections do you rest when you put a story like this to air, if any?
Well, Senator, I don't have precise detail in front of me. We believe we had this story legaled. We didn't believe there was any legal impediment to broadcasting this material. But I don't have that precise legal advice in front of me this afternoon.
Okay. But do you publish under some kind of implied freedom of publication, or are you exposed in the same way as publishers in the UK, for example?
Well, we clearly don't have a First Amendment here. There have been no other, in our discussions with authorities yesterday, and there were no other issues that I believe that were raised with us that was an inhibitor on us publishing this material.
Okay, that's good. I know it would not normally be the practice.
Yeah.
Go on.
And our act does require us to comply with the law, so we act. This is one of the reasons why we seek legal advice prior to publication.
I guess I'm more concerned that the law is silent rather than containing any explicit prohibition for you to do what you've done, that the law in Australia and the Constitution is silent.
Yes, that's true, Senator. There's no prevailing First Amendment protection.
Publish and be damned, and good on you for doing so. Just changing the subject briefly, there have been some reports in a newspaper, about potential product placement in ABC programming. Does
Yeah.
that go on? Is there an explicit
No,
policy?
no, there is no product placement in ABC content. I've seen some of those articles, Senator. I've been a little bit confused by them. And I have some material here on that. I mean, the ABC's editorial policies prohibit the use of product placement. Product placement would pose a threat to our independence and integrity.
Indeed.
But that's not to say, though, Senator, that products won't appear in a drama program
No.
and the like. But we're not
In a paid capacity.
we're
right?
not being paid for that.
Okay.
no.
That's good. It's good that your policy is that clear. Have you had complaints, or are you just aware of the media stories?
I'm just aware of a series of stories. Someone's watched some of our programs with a stopwatch and said that a certain car brand has appeared a lot, but that's the car brand that the characters in the drama were driving. Anyway, our editorial policies, Section 11, makes clear the guidelines that operate. It's also covered in Section 12 and Section 13 of the editorial policies. Our television division adheres to those requirements. There's no product placement in ABC commissioned content, and our independent producers are aware of those requirements.
That was where I was heading
Yeah.
next. How do you police that upstream to work that you commission?
Well, Senator, those people who work in partnership with us understand that they need to deliver in terms of the editorial policy. So when we contract with them to make a drama or a documentary, they know, part of the contractual requirements is that they are stipulating compliance with the editorial policies. They indicate that we have final editorial control over that product. We provide training sessions for production teams that include issues like commercial references and our product placement prohibition. So we do training around that. And we have a website, I understand, that provides further support and information. So I don't think it's a case, Senator, that we have a clear policy, but independent producers who work with us make up their own rules. They have to deliver under the editorial policies that would operate if we were doing this internally, and we do our best to inform them and educate them around those policies, and we can review their adherence to those matters.
All right, that's pretty clear. Lastly, for me, on your online platform, what's your policy on iView about how long and how many of your programs will be resident on your website for catch-up?
On iView?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question, Senator. iView is just continuing to experience tremendous growth for us, and we look to expand that service in response to audience demand. The issue about availability of program on iView comes to rights negotiations. And so...
Can we confine it for the moment just to stuff that you hold the rights to? I'm interested in particular in your current affairs work.
Yeah, no. Well, that's a good question, Senator. Well, I mean, everything we put on iView, we hold the rights to. But if I can draw another comparison, then I'll come back to a Four Corners or something like that. Yeah. A program like Doctor Who or Broadchurch, a program that we acquire, or even a program that we make like Time of Our Lives, we will make a payment that allows us to broadcast it a certain number of times on free-to-air television, and then a window linked usually to that free-to-air television broadcast that we can broadcast it on iView for, and that's usually a 14-day window. And it's different if you look at different catch-up services around the world. The BBC has been at 7 days, and some aspects they're going to 30 days, but we're at 14 days, and that's what we buy basically from our production partners and the like. And so that's generally been the way that we have dealt with iView across the board, that you kind of educate your audience that it's a 14-day window. And if you look at the iView traffic, actually, it's almost got a half-life day after day. You get a slight pickup days 12, 13 or 14 as people are aware it's going to go. So that's the way we kind of set it up and run it. There is an argument that we are investigating now around our archive. I actually would like more archival material available in iView, but that would probably be archival material that people need to pay for, like they pay for it now. If you wanted to go and watch a series of Sea Change, the only way you could do that, Senator, is to go to our shop and buy a DVD. We think you should be able to download that.
Right.
And the way you could go on iTunes and download archival programming.
But what about an asset like Four Corners?
Well, a lot of that material, Senator, you can still find. I think we're still thinking through how we deal with our long archive of Four Corners. But beyond the 14 days, you can find a lot of that material on the Four Corners website that you can play full length and often additional material linked back to that program. But the way we've set up iView, I understand the thrust of your question, the way we've really set up iView is to indicate that this is a 14-day catch-up window by and large, and that's the way it's operated. How you do with the long archive of Four Corners, 50 years of Four Corners archive, we're still thinking through. There is a question about how much should appear on iView, how much should appear on the website. And then there's the whole cost of delivering this, Senator. There was some additional money that was provided for CDN costs in the last budget. But I think, as Mr Ebert said earlier from SBS, one of the miracles of broadcast technology is that one person watches or 1 million people watch, it's the same cost. One of the challenges about digital delivery is that every additional person who's drawing material down from your system triggers a cost back to the broadcaster providing it. So how we manage the demand of iView is a significant question for us.
Yeah, look, I'll leave it there, and I'm not proposing that an episode of Four Corners from 40 years ago is going to be posing a massive drain on your servers, but it's more that the entire assemblage is actually culturally important.
I think that's true, Senator. I think the BBC is doing some of this. We still have a challenge about the cost of digitising our archive and then how you create an architecture that makes it accessible and how you do that.
Don't lose any of it while you're making
No, we're keen to preserve it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Senator Ludlam.